Welcome to forever, man. Let's go. Come on. It's forever. No surrender. Yeah. You know that this right here forever.
Ladies and gentlemen, your Los Angeles Kings.
Welcome back, Kings fans. I am Jesse Cohen. She is Carlin Baith. This is Tape to Tape. Before we get started, Carlin, as always, I have a question for you and all the rest of the Kings fans. Do you think you're the ultimate Kings superfan? Because Mercury Insurance is looking for you. Visit mercuryinsurance.com/kings to learn how you can win some great prizes, including the grand prize of a luxury box at home. The Mercury Superfan promotion is live now through May. If you are the LA Kings' biggest superfan, submit images or videos on Instagram or Twitter or at mercuryinsurance.com/kings. Multiple weekly winners will be chosen at random to receive prizes such as LA Kings merchandise, autographed memorabilia, and a virtual meet and greet with a player. 8 lucky finalists will be selected by Mercury to move on to the finals bracket, where fans will vote to decide who will be crowned the grand prize winner and ultimate LA Kings superfan. And Carlin, there's an additional prize that we haven't mentioned previously.
Oh, well, there's an additional one?
There is.
Okay.
The winner gets to do a segment on the Fox and Faust podcast. Which,
What?
if you're listening to, yeah, that's right. If you're listening to this, go ahead and subscribe to Fox and Faust at lakings.com/podcast. The rest of the prize includes a 55-inch Toshiba 4K Ultrad HD Fire TV, 4 Adidas silver team-signed jerseys, $500 Blaze Pizza gift card, $500 McDonald's Arch card, and a McDonald's Superfan game day meal, which includes favorites like Chicken McNuggets, Big Mac sandwiches, their world-famous fries, and McFlurries for dessert, as well as a ton of other McDonald's swag. Carlin, I know you and I have said this before. I don't think we're eligible.
I know.
But now that extra bit is added, it's tempting, right?
Dang it. I want to win that so badly.
Now, we mentioned the McDonald's meal, which includes their world-famous fries.
Right.
And that's going to bring us to the Would You Rather. It's not exactly a Would You Rather. It's a more of a which of these would you get rid of? So I saw this up on Twitter earlier in the week. Food Network said, eliminate a French fry shape forever. Classic, crinkle, curly, or waffle. So instead of a Would You Rather, Carlin, it's which fry would you get rid of forever?
I think, first of all, I know it's which one, but if I could eliminate 2, it would be
no, you can't eliminate 2.
Okay, we'll stick with
You're
one.
a mad
then.
woman.
The waffle fry. What's the point of that? When I think of a fry, I think of a concise, small, compact thing. I don't think of just a smaller version of a potato. That's what the waffle fry reminds me of. So I would like to get that out of there and keep my singular small fry pieces to myself. Jesse, what kind of crazy
all right, well, now I'm
fry
curious what the
elimination do you
second
have?
one. Well, now I want to know what your second one would have been.
Obviously the curly fry, because that's
Okay.
also obnoxious, and what, like, you can
Yeah.
I don't know, and they're never all the same. I feel like the top 2, they're so consistent with their looks and their size and how you can just kind of pick them up and go. The curly fries, sometimes you get like a weird, like 5-foot long one, or like a one that's got 3 stuck together. They're pointless. They're useless, and there's too much room for error.
No, obnoxious was the right word. You used it right at the top there. And the defense I always hear for specific curly fries, which is my choice, by the way, to get rid of forever. The defense is always, well, have you tried this restaurant or this brand or this style of specific fry? And they say, oh, the seasoning, the whatever. And I go like, but that's seasoning. That has nothing to do with how the fry is cut. And you're right. Curly fries are just complicated. They're overly complicated. They don't add anything. Waffle fries, I don't know. I'm indifferent.
But smaller. Get them out.
Yeah.
Out. That's not.
But somebody commented on to me when I made my comment about curly fries. They said I was crazy. They've never disagreed with me more, and that crinkle fries were the one to get rid of, and that curly fries were their childhood. And I thought that was interesting because for me, crinkle fries are my childhood.
Yeah, crinkle fries were what every lunch person gave you for Yeah, your meal, middle school,
And
high school, elementary.
and SoCal natives will remember. Like for me, for example, it was riding to my bike to the local comic book store on a Sunday, buying some comic books, then going across the street and getting 35-cent ice cream cones from Thrifties, then riding my bike,
Still good.
whatever it was, 3 or 4 miles home, and on the way stopping at Noggles and getting some crinkle fries. So like
Wow.
that's my childhood. So yeah,
Wow.
bye curly fries, crinkle fries forever. But
Hello, Noggles. Holy
yeah,
smokes. There
important
you go.
important stuff to get out of the way before we get on with the rest of the week.
Sure is.
Last week we started out with the King of the Week early rather than later in the segment. We're going to do the same thing again this week, because this week's King of the Week is a player that I think everybody is well familiar with, and it should come as no surprise. It's Drew Doughty. So we want to say congratulations right off the bat to Drew Doughty for being named King of the Week. And we were sort of at a loss early in the week, Carlin, as to who to name, because the Kings did not have a great week. 2 losses to San Jose last Friday and Saturday. But then you had that first game against Arizona that did not go particularly well. And I don't know about you, but I was caught off guard, pleasantly surprised by Drew Doughty's comments following that Monday night game against the Arizona Coyotes.
Drew, in the third period, it felt like the team had a much higher desperation level. Would you agree with that? And did you feel like that's maybe what was lacking in the first 40?
I think that's what's been lacking for the last 5 games. We haven't had any intensity, anyone competing. I shouldn't say that. We've had some guys competing every single game, and we've had others take games on, play good games, and take games off. So, I mean, we're down 4-1 in the third period. I'd sure hope that we're playing a little more desperate, but it's absolutely ridiculous that we didn't play like that in the first or the second or the last 4 games, actually, besides the Vegas one.
Carlin, your first thoughts and impressions Monday night following that session with Drew?
That's a passionate hockey player right there. That's a person who hates to lose, lets to love people know it. That's somebody who realizes where the team went wrong and how much potential they have. There's a difference of being angry and maybe the team not being able to compete at such a high level, but this is a player who knows what his team is capable of, who knows what he himself is capable of, and you can just hear that frustration of knowing that the entire team just needed to raise the bar and he wasn't seeing it.
I've now been watching Drew play for whatever his entire career, which is 13 years now or something like that. And I've had the opportunity to interact with him directly for 6 or 7 years now. And Jim Fox has said it, Nick Nickson said it, tons of people have said it. I absolutely see a different Drew Doughty this year. Not talking about his play on the ice, but just about the way he speaks about himself and to other people. And the one thing that caught me the most in that, we saw it in the answer that he gave right there, is that he caught himself saying, everybody needs to be better, than catching himself and saying, I shouldn't say that. There are people who are trying hard. Huge moment from Drew. Didn't raise his voice, but you could tell the disappointment and the frustration. Particularly given his play on Monday night. He scored a goal. We're going to take a look at some highlights now while we continue talking about why he's the King of the Week. But he scored a goal against Arizona. He was out there, it felt like, every minute trying to come back on Monday night. And then Wednesday night, a huge game from Drew Doughty.
Yeah. And Jesse, I remember texting you just during the game and even came upstairs to say hello at one point. And I think we talked about Drew Doughty both times, where it was like, did you see him trying to get things going, or, before the goal, or before he even registered a point? But it was just this fire that you could see him almost even like metaphorically, maybe just backing up his own comments from Monday's game. And just his effort was palpable. And I don't know if something changed within the team. Maybe it was from a conversation during the intermissions, but it carried through. And I feel like we saw the things Drew Doughty was mad about changed in that third period during the game. It was something to see.
And we just saw it a few moments ago in the highlight reel there. His hug of Jeff Carter when Jeff Carter tipped that goal in. Yep. I mean, it sounds absurd, but I almost feel like that hug should have been a highlight play by itself. Like, you could just feel how excited he was. Yeah. And we played 29 minutes, wasn't on the ice for a goal against, 2 assists, +2, 2 blocked shots, 1 hit, assisted on the game tying and the game winning goal. And his partner, Mikey Anderson, played almost 29 minutes himself. just a phenomenal performance from Drew Doughty, as you said, not only talking the talk, but going out there and walking the walk.
Absolutely.
In a season that's tremendously important. And I don't want to leave out Sean Walker, who, as you pointed out in the post-game availability, what was it, 7 shots on goal or something like that?
7 shots on goal. The whole decor were just so offensively minded last night, always trying to activate. Just so good with turning around the play and getting things started in the other zone. They were a huge part of the reason why I think the momentum changed even at a little bit last night. So it was something to watch from all of them, and seeing we had a stat on the broadcast that was just comparing like Drew Doughty's stats himself to the entire rest of the decor.
Sure.
And it was just impressive seeing, how much experience a veteran like Drew has compared with how young the decor is and what they were able to like rise to the occasion and do. So it was a game.
Drew Doughty, 29 minutes, 15 seconds. Mikey Anderson, 28 minutes, 54 seconds. Sean Walker, 22 minutes, 54 seconds. And even Cale Clegg got into the action with his own big hit on Bunting, the coyote that had terrorized the Kings on Monday night, trying to come out of the zone there. And then all of a sudden, Cale Clegg with a nice big hit.
You may not agree with me, Jesse, but that hit felt like not only a turning point for Cale in that game, because I saw a surge of energy watching him play after that moment, but maybe even the rest of the team. And sometimes people think like, oh, a scrap or something will get the team going. I don't know if mentally that hit was just a turning point for everybody just sitting on the bench, because there were guys that were like, whoa, you could just see the body language kind of change. On both.
Well, look, it was 3-1 when he made that hit, and the final score was 4-3. So you're not wrong.
Yeah,
you're definitely not wrong. We're going to take a break right now, Carlin. When we come back, though, we're going to talk to Nick Nickson, play-by-play announcer for the LA Kings, because he's been calling some rain games, and he'll have some thoughts when we come back.
Velarde to Carter now, and Carter tic-tac-toe. Velarde, that shot altered by an Avalanche stick.
Joining us now, voice of the LA Kings, and Nick. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to get to know you over the years, but I mean, I've been listening to your voice as long as I've been a Kings fan. Thank you so much for joining us here.
My pleasure. Great to be with you. Seems like if I'm not doing a Kings game lately, I'm doing a rain game or talking to you guys.
That's right. Well, that's exactly
what a great diversion.
That's exactly why we've got you here today, Nick. You called the last rain home game on Tuesday night. I think it was against Bakersfield, and you've called a handful of them, and you will continue to call a few as the season goes on. So anybody watching this that doesn't already have AHL TV, go ahead and get it. I think they've got a reduced price for the rest of the season. But Nick, what is your overall impression of the rain based on the games you've seen so far?
Well, I think I did my first game about 4 weeks ago now, and they lost that game. And I think their record after that loss was 1-11-2. So the team did not get out of the gate very well. But the last 3 games I've done, 2 weeks ago, I did back-to-back games on the weekend. And even in those games, 2 weeks ago, I saw a marked difference in just the speed, the confidence that a lot of the young players were exuding out there. It was almost like night and day, like a switch had turned on after getting experience, because it is a very young AHL team. It almost seemed like after they played 12, 15 games, okay, now I get what I have to do. Can I go out and do it? And they're doing it. And I was just looking because I was trying to do some preparation for my next rain game, which is next week with San Diego. They're 8-4-1 now in their last 13 games. And a lot of their top scorers are their youngest players. So it's all coming together. And of course, if you're a Kings fan and you're watching all these former first and second round picks down there, that's what you like to see and what you like to hear. So yeah, they're definitely trending in the right direction. It's been a lot of fun to do the last couple of games.
Any thoughts on Quentin Byfield and his game in particular?
Yeah, he had a beautiful goal the other night, stole the puck, moved in on the goaltender and deked and put it in. And it reminded me at Andrei Kopitar's first or second training camp on the same ice sheet, because that's where the Kings have had their training camps and practices over the years. He had a similar move, and all of us with the media back then, we were down by the glass in the corner right by the net. We all went, wow, this might be something special. And I turned to Daryl Evans, who was doing the game with me the other night, and I said the same thing. I said, Daryl, I remember Andre getting a goal right in this building at that end where Byfield just scored. He just totally blew out the goalie with the deke. And we all know the rest is history with Andre. So he definitely has a great skill set. I don't think skating is going to be an issue at all. I know a lot of people feel that for bigger players, it's tough to get from point A to point B. But as we found out with Andre, skating has never been an issue with him. So very impressed with Quentin Byfield. And I've only seen him 4 times.
Are there other players, too, that are jumping off the page at you and impressing you while you're seeing these games up close?
Yeah, well, Byfield is a former first-round pick, and I think the Reign have 4 former first-rounders, 3 that the Kings have taken the last, 3 drafts, and Elias Anderson, who came over from the New York Rangers. I've liked Anderson's game. I'm not quite sure if he's played all 4 that I've done because he's been up and down with the Kings this year, but he is showing me kind of a gritty, edgy style that I didn't know he had. And I think that will bode well for him going forward. Just something he can check off, check the list to become an NHL player down the road. Mikey Acemont, he played 2 strong games back-to-back with Bakersfield a week and a half ago. And I think he had a couple of points, but I said, he's almost like their Blake Lizotte.
Yeah.
Blake with the Kings is just a bundle of energy and tenacious, and he's always moving, darting in and out of openings, trying to make plays. So, yeah, he kind of piqued my interest because of the way he was playing the style, and he was an effective player. And I was very surprised when I looked at the stat sheet, and I think he still is the leader in shots on goal on the team. Oh, wow. And I don't think he gets a lot of power play time. So good for Mikey Acemont. Rasmus Capari, again, he came up. He was with the Kings for a bit earlier. Right off a face-off to start the 3rd period a couple of weeks ago, he got really hit hard. And I was looking to see if the referee was going to call a penalty for a late hit or a high hit. He didn't let it go. But boy, Capari gave it back the rest of that 3rd period. So he's a tough competitor. So that has stood out to me with, another first-round pick that the Kings have down there.
That's great.
Nick, real quick, any thoughts on Cale Clegg and Austin Strand and their transition, having to go back and forth between the Reign and the Kings?
Yeah, I heard you talking earlier about Cal getting a lot of ice time against Arizona on Wednesday. Of course, Todd kind of shortened the bench there, and he went with 4D for the most part. But Clegg, Mikey Anderson, they don't play that much unless they're effective. Good skater, good skills, heck of a play on the give and go with Adrian Kempe to start the comeback. And I've seen that in his game when he was down in Ontario. So. I don't think his skating, his offensive skills, the way he sees the game is an issue. I think it's just improving his defensive game. So, good for Cal Clegg there.
Nick, can you take us back to when you first started calling AHL games with the New Haven Nighthawks, way back in the day? I was talking with Jesse about this. I don't know if you remember calling any games against the Maine Mariners, but I know my dad literally played in the chunk of time that you were calling all of those games with the Nighthawks, and I was just curious if you have any memories or even just the team in general, because they were hard to play against too when in those Calder Cup.
Yeah, they were. As you know, Carlin, the Flyers were their parent team, and it was still the big bad Broad Street Bullies in Philadelphia, and that mindset carried down to the Maine Mariners. when I was in my third or fourth year in the AHL, I started in Rochester, my hometown with the Americans, was there for 2 years. Then I moved to New Haven. And when I was in New Haven, the Maine Mariners got a new franchise in the AHL, and they were owned and operated by the Philadelphia Flyers. And I remember your dad, he was there, Terry Murray, former Kings coach. He was there. Brian Burke was a Maine Mariner for a while. Some other players. It's interesting because when I was doing the New Haven games, Mike Emmerich was doing the Maine Mariner games before Mike got to the NHL. And over the years, Mike and I, of course, realized our dream and got to call NHL games. Whenever the two of us would get together, we'd throw out these names of old Maine Mariners and New Haven Nighthawks, and we just chuckle with each other because it brings back a lot of memories. I mean, that's where we all developed our game, our style, and nothing but fond memories. And I've enjoyed going back in time and doing the Ontario Reign. It's been a lot of fun because it's been, over 45 years since I did my very first game.
No bus rides though now, right?
That's right.
No plane rides either.
Well, that's right. Not this year. Nick, as you mentioned, though, this is it's 40 years now with the Kings, but the Kings are not the only LA championship team that you've worked with. You worked with the Dodgers in '88, did you not?
Yeah, and I did the public address. I took over for the legendary voice of John Ramsey for a long time. Southern California residents and Dodger fans. He had that big booming voice. Number 30, Maury Wills. So I take over for him, and I'm sounding like a falsetto, right? Up against John Ramsey. I started, I think it was in '83, my first or second summer in LA. And I was there for about 8 or 9 years. And I was there when they won the 1988 World Series. And up until last year, I kept telling people with the Dodgers that I've kept in contact with over the years, if you want another World Series, just bring me back as PA announcer. That's the only way it's going to work.
I mean, you turned the rain record around too. There's something about you.
Right.
You're good luck here. What's going on?
Well, don't say that too loudly because Luke might say, Nick, can you do both games, both teams next year?
Oh, I love that.
But you started out in upstate New York, but now a Southern California institution in your own right.
Well, some would say I should be an institution in my own right, but thank you very much for the nice comment, Jesse. I've enjoyed it. You know, I've said this before. When I first got the job, the New Haven Nighthawks parent team were the LA Kings, and that's how I got the connection. When I first got the job and I flew out in November of 1981, I had never been west of Ohio in my life. I grew up in upstate New York, and what a culture shock it was for me. Our oldest boy had just been born. He was 2 months old. We came out here and we said, well, let's see what it's like. And, let's go to the national parks in the summer when we've got free time. And if it doesn't work out, we can always go back home, right? That's always an option, it seems. But it's worked out great. The kids are Southern California dudes, and we've enjoyed every minute of it. And I want to thank the fans for welcoming me into Kings hockey and the Kings world when I first came out here just over 40 years ago. So I owe them a great debt of gratitude.
Well, I should have dug it out for this. I was thinking about it and it slipped my mind. But Nick, my favorite piece of Kings memorabilia that I own is a puck signed by you, Bob, Jim, and Daryl.
There you go.
Each of you on a side, and it's easily my favorite. We want to thank you so much for joining us here, Nick, and for the years.
And quickly, Jesse.
Yeah.
Don't get rid of that puck because that's the only puck I've ever signed.
Oh, there you go. I won't. Perfect.
And if you believe that.
Yeah, we're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to take one last look at the schedule and what the Kings have to do to cling to their playoff hopes. Thanks again, Nick. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Huge thanks to Nick Nickson. That was terrific. Carlin, a lot of fun, no?
There's never enough time with Nick Nickson.
Yeah,
like I had a couple things to ask him, right? But the list is just so long. It's insane. Like I just want Kings fans to hear his whole story, and he summed it up pretty well, just coming across the country and how he ended up here. But it's just there's so much more to it, and he's such an interesting guy, and he's one of those voices that when you think of the Kings, he was grateful for the fans and for being a part of the organization, but it's like, no, thank you, Nick, because when I think of the Kings, I think of you, I think of Jim, I think of Daryl, Bob, now Alex. It's just thanks to him for giving us all these memories and being that voice for us.
And when it comes to a voice of the LA Kings, everybody loves Nick Nickson. But when it comes to a starting lineup, Carlin, everybody loves the starter from Jack Black.
Boom, there
loaded with the superior skincare that the pros love. LA Kings fans can get the starter for just $10, shipping included, available exclusively at getjackblack.com with the code TEAMJB. The starter has 4 of Jack Black's best-selling skincare and shave products, plus a full-size intense therapy lip balm, SPF 25 in natural mint, my favorite flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Here's to the winning combination of Nick Nickson and the LA Kings and the starter from Jack Black. That's $10 plus free shipping, available at getjackblack.com with the code TEAMJB while supplies last. And Carlin, this time we are reminding Kings fans to follow the Kings on social media after the show for a chance to be one of 10 lucky fans to win a Clean Team gift set from Jack Black.
We've got things to give away, so you better get in line and be one of those people.
That's right. That's right.
Let's go.
One of the things I did want to say, tag on though there at the end about Nick, and Jim Fox is the same way, and Bob Miller is too, is the greatest thing about those guys, the pros that they are, and Hall of Famers. They know how to give a great answer, but they also know how to give an answer to the question you forgot to ask. You not being you specifically, but you being anybody, right? Like,
yeah.
They're just great. They know what's important. They know what stories are good and what'll put a smile on your face. So again, huge thanks to Nick Nickson, not only for calling all those games, but just like Crinkle Fries, for being an important part of my childhood. There you go.
That was beautiful.
Thanks. So we're going to go ahead and look at the schedule. Last week we mentioned that we were going to have to root for the Ducks. They did not help us out tremendously, but
it was all for nothing. It was all for nothing.
As you pointed out, the Kings didn't help themselves out a ton either. But looking at the schedule and the standings right now, Arizona sits in that 4th place playoff spot with 43 points. The Kings in 7th place with 36 points, Carlin. But we're going to do a little schedule magic math here.
Can't wait.
The Kings have played 38 games. Arizona have played 40. Kings have a bunch of games coming up against the Ducks and St. Louis and the Coyotes. Now, if the Kings can make up those 2 games in hand on Arizona, that's an extra 4 points. That shrinks that 9-point lead down to 5. And the Kings have 3 games against the Coyotes left on the schedule. If they can win those 3 games, that's 6 points. That erases that 5-point lead. That puts the Kings ahead of Arizona by 1. Now, that means the Kings have to do a lot of winning. Means Arizona's got to do a lot of losing, and it means San Jose and St. Louis. It all has to work out too. But that, in my mind, is the path to the playoffs for the LA Kings at this point.
I didn't ask you this before we started, so feel free to not answer me. But do we factor in how many games Arizona would have to lose in that stretch, or is it just kind of an unknown blob of like they just would have to lose some?
Well, I haven't looked at theirs. I'll glance at their schedule right now. I know that in the coming week they've got games against Vegas, Colorado, and Minnesota. They've got a pair against Minnesota the week after that. 2
That's
against
good for
Vegas.
us then, because those are some tough teams to beat. Yeah.
Yeah, and their last 4 games are 2 against San Jose, the last 2 games of the season, and 2 against LA, the 3rd and 4th last game of the season. So, yeah, they have to do, basically the Kings have to keep pace with them in the games that not against one another.
Okay.
And then the Kings have to pick up those 2 wins that they have in hand, right? So if the Kings win out against the Ducks or take 4 or 5, whatever it is, and can beat Arizona in those 3 games they have left against them, that's the key. The real question is St. Louis going to right the ship? And is San Jose going to continue to play well? And we don't know. We don't have those answers.
Close.
Yeah. It's annoying.
I hate this.
I know.
I hate this so much.
I know.
Usually there's just more of a clear-cut picture, or somebody's so clearly going to take that spot, or there's a wild card spot to compete for. I hate this fourth spot being V1 and 3 teams being so close. It's a nightmare. Or 4.
Well,
our
our emergency Swiss Army knife, Trevor Rabone, has just texted me. Games remaining: Arizona 43 points, 16 remaining, 7 at home, 9 on the road, 1 versus the Avs, 4 versus Vegas, 3 versus Minnesota, 3 versus the Kings, 4 versus the Sharks, 1 versus St. Louis, none against Anaheim. So they're not going to get any easy points against the Ducks anymore. St. Louis 10 at home, 7 on the road, 4 versus the Avs, 2 versus the Golden Knights. Wow, 7 versus Minnesota. So in that case, I guess we hope Minnesota really takes it to St. Louis.
Yeah.
1 versus the Yotes, 1 versus the Kings, none versus San Jose, 2 versus Anaheim. So they've got a few easy games on the schedule. San Jose, 38 points, and apologize for just reading this straight off my phone. 12 at home, 6 on the road. That's good for San Jose. But 4 versus the Avs, 3 versus the Knights, and 3 versus the Wild. So those will be tough games.
It's tough
for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then here's the Kings, 10 at home, 8 on the road. So a fairly even split there. 4 versus the Avs. That's going to be rough. 2 versus the Golden Knights. They've actually done pretty well against Golden Knights. Split, I think, so far. Or maybe they didn't split the one series, but I know they've gotten splits in 2 of them. That one left against Minnesota that was rescheduled, the one against St. Louis that was rescheduled, and then the kicker, 3 versus Arizona, 2 versus San Jose, and 5 versus Anaheim. So that's 10 games against the Yotes, the Sharks, and the Ducks. I'm going to say the Kings need to win 7 of them, 6 of them for all of this to hold up, but we will find out.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. Thanks to our biggest fan, Trevor.
Yeah, thank you, Trevor.
Idly waiting, like, it's my moment.
Well, no, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Trevor is the MVP of the behind the scenes Kings crew. Everybody, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're all great. Emma, Dami, Lexi, producer Chris, obviously Caitlin, Robin, they're all fantastic,
ready to help. We love you all.
Trevor does everything, man. Trevor does everything, including being the PA announcer for the Kings right now. So
and crushing it, by the way.
Huge thanks to Trevor. Huge thanks to all those people I mentioned behind the scenes at the Kings. And if I forgot anybody, Ashley, Phil, Nick, Andrew,
Brian.
A lot of names. But thanks to everybody. As always, thanks to producer Chris. Thanks to Nick Nickson. Carlin, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jesse.
And saw you at Staples Center the other night in person for the first time in a few months. But other than that, those 2 times, I think it's been over a year. And I forgot how important it is to see people face to face. So hopefully we're through this soon.
When I get all vaxxed up, Jesse, we're going to hug, and it's going to be amazing.
There we go. Can't wait. So thanks to everybody at home for watching. Thanks to the LA Kings, and we will talk to you next week.